To start a product return, we need to select the Orders menu and navigate to Enter Orders. Instead of starting a new order or looking up an existing order, we're going to select the Return Order button, which is on the right-hand side of the Save button. Upon selecting the Return Order button, two more fields populate on the screen asking me to enter the order number and the return reason. So in this case, I know my original order number, but I could also use the magnifying glass to do a search for the order number if I didn't know it as well. Once I enter in my order number, I then need to select the return reason. Why is the customer returning this item? The list of reasons that you have in your drop-down may vary. They are specific to reasons that you've set up within your system. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select wrong item. Now, once I tab or click out of those fields, the system is then going to go look for that original order number that I entered, and the system's going to create a return order based off of the items on that original order and the costs associated with it. In this case, my customer happens to have a warning flag for a VIP customer, so I can just click OK and go past that. You can see here that the Bill to Customer details have already been populated. In this case, there was only one item that was on my original order, and it came in at the quantity and the price that it was originally ordered at. And I can come into this field and I could make changes to it. So in the event that there were multiple items on the order and only one needed to be returned, I could go ahead and make changes by selecting the line item and hitting Update or Remove. Now do note that on the line item details, we will see the reason for the return and the original order number. That is pulled in automatically from the details that I entered at the beginning. Now in this case, there was only one item, so I'm not going to be making any changes to this item, but we do need to process in a refund. The customer needs to get their money back, their $7.99. So by navigating to the payment section, I'm now going to see what's called a prior payments box, and this is going to show me any payments that the customer used previously for this order. If there were multiple payments, then I would see multiple payments listed here. In this case, there was just one, so I would select that and hit Add, and this is what will allow me to go ahead and refund this customer their $7.99. Now, once I do hit Save on the order does go into what's called a return close state, depending on your specific settings. But in most cases, a product return is always going to go into a return close state. So here I can see my state. It's called return or refund. So while my refund is set up, I can see my return was completed here. The money is not actually going to be deposited. If I expand out my payments, I can see it's just in an authorized state. So this money won't be deposited back to the customer's account until this return refund process is completed. That's typically completed by somebody on the back office team or somebody from accounting who manages that. If a customer's order is not being closed properly and therefore not being refunded, please escalate that to your direct supervisor who can help coach you on the best way of handling that or who to bring attention to. Now, in the event that an order was originally made with multiple items and maybe only one or two of those items is actually returned, we have a couple different options. I can either select the return order button again and start my order, or I can choose to do the return order a different way. So I'm going to walk you through both ways. First, we're going to do the return order button. And I'm going to enter my original order number again, and I'm going to select my return reason. This time I'm going to select defective. And again, the system's going to go look for that original order number. It's going to pull in the billing customer details. It's going to pull in all of the item details. And then again, if I go down to the payment section, we can see our prior payments box down there for our refund. Now going into the items section, a couple of things I do want to point out. One of the things is, for example, here I have the style jacket. It's a quantity of 2. If, for example, maybe this was one of the items that was returned, but it was only returned with a -1, only 1 was returned, we need to make sure when we update this quantity, we enter -1 in order to keep that reason and that order number attached to this item. That's what makes it a return. Okay, so now I've updated that. Now we have a -1. Now these next two items, Dino 2 and Dino 1, these are actually part of a kit item that was on the original order. So you'll notice that the components will automatically be pulled in individually. In this case, maybe the kit was not returned, so I can select those items individually and remove them. Now in this case, because this is part of a kit, and it's saying in this case this kit is set so all components must be returned together. You can't return just one at a time. So it's saying, do I want to remove all components for this kit? And yes, I do. So I'm going to select yes. And now the system went ahead and it took away those related components. So as you can see from this example, it's pretty easy to modify the order to remove any items that hadn't been returned. However, you have to remember to do that. If I didn't do that, then the customer would have been refunded for the whole amount of their original order. I'm going to select clear, and I am not going to save my changes because I want to show you the second way that I could start this order. So the first thing that I would need to do is pull up my original order in Order Inquire, and I need to do this so really I can see that customer bill to number. So what I'm going to do now is going back in my Enter Order screen. In the order number field, I'm going to hit the Enter key, and I'm going to select my source code. Ideally, I'd like my source code to be the same as the original order, but it doesn't have to be. The system will allow me to create this return order with a different source code. Now, in the bill to customer details, I'm going to enter my bill to customer information and hit the Enter key. And then I'm going to tab and navigate right to the items section. So now that I'm in the items section, I can go ahead and enter the item, the first item that needs to be returned. And when you hit the Enter key, you'll see that the quantity automatically goes in a positive quantity because the system thinks that we're trying to build a new order. So I'm going to backspace that, clear that out, and I'm going to enter -1. By doing that, again, you see my reason and my order number fields are populated. They're blank because I didn't hit the return order button in the beginning to be able to enter these details. So here I'll just select the drop down, choose the item, and in the order number, I'm going to select the drop down, and it's going to only display the order numbers that that customer has where we've shipped out items and it hasn't been yet returned. So I'm going to select that from the list. It's going to populate in my field here, and now I can add that item to my order. When it adds it, it's going to go ahead and look to see how much was originally paid for on the order, etc., and make sure that all of those details match as well. Now I can go down to my prior payments, select my payments, add it, and save my order. Now, in the event that maybe we need to process an exchange, so instead of getting a refund, the customer would just like to get another item back in return. So again, I can start the orders either way. As you see, it is a bit easier, in my opinion, to hit the return order button and let the system do all the work for you. So that's my preferred method. I'm going to select or enter my original order number and then select my return reason. And again, the system's going to go out and look for that original order and build my return order for me. Now in this case, I'm going to go down to my line items. And maybe in this case, I'm going to remove the pen refill lines because the customer only returned the black dipped mug. Maybe they only returned it because, you know, it got damaged in shipping and they would like to have a different one in return. So what I can do at this point is I can actually come in here and enter my SKU, and the system's going to put it on as a positive quantity by default because it already built out that return order with all of the negative quantity it needed. And so now I can go ahead and I can add that item to the order. Because it is already listed, it's just asking me, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And so I can continue to go ahead and add that. Now in this case, you can see here, because my items are the same price, there's no merchandise total, so therefore there's no shipping. There is also a setting within the system where you can define if you should charge shipping on those exchange orders or not. So in this case, I actually don't need to enter any payment details. I can go ahead and just save my order. And that's how easy it is to set up an exchange.